double your money and make it stack. I'm on to the next one, on to the next, I'm on to the next one, on to the next, I'm on to the next one, on to the next, I'm on to the next one, on to the next. Hold up.
All right, what's up, Purdue fans? It's the third BlitzCast. I know I haven't done one in what seems like several months, but you know, I've been really busy, and I feel like this is a good time to do one for a lot of reasons. The main one being that we took a really bad loss a few nights ago that still has Purdue fans reeling. So, Tyler, why don't you give your quick take on that?
We got outplayed by a tremendous amount. I felt we couldn't get a handle on our ball game. We couldn't get anything going, and all our shots just looked like they were just thrown up there, just hoping to get points.
Yeah. We have Purdue has no offensive rhythm. You know, it's like we have two or three guards that want to just stand around, and they don't pass the ball like they need to. You know, like Tyrone, you always see him trying to drive into the lane and kind of throw it up, which tends to work for him a lot of the time, but against a great defender like Victor Oladipo, it's not going to work. You know,
you're going to have to move the ball around.
You have to move the ball around, and you watch IU, and they're so crisp. You know, they have a lot of seniors though, that helps, but it seems like they just distribute the ball so well and always find the best shot. So
that was actually one thing I did notice. They pass the ball around a lot.
They do very, very crisp offense. That's something we didn't have anything remotely close to.
No, we go when we get the ball, we just we go down towards the basket for us. But then we just held on to it.
Yeah. Now I don't know if you read my my post game thing on the Blitz. Did you read the 1 day away thing, or a year away, I think is what I called it. Well, I talked about the only positive from that game, which has to be AJ Hammons.
Agreed.
Our freshman center is coming along. He's looking good. Probably going to the NBA in a few years. So, you know, 7-footers are really prized at that level.
True.
So
I mean, he was the only one who could go up against Zeller.
Yeah, he's listed as a first-round pick next year, but I could see him staying here until he's lottery.
I'm thinking if he wants to get into it early, I mean, I'd say he'd be here at Purdue one more year, and then after that he may go in.
I think he'll definitely do at least what Juwan did after his junior year, and like go talk to scouts and test the waters after next year, and he might still decide to come back. You know, he might do what Juwan did and not hire an agent, and then come back because maybe he's not sure. So if they tell him he's a lottery pick, he'll go. If they tell him he's a late first rounder, he might stay through his junior year. So he's not a 4-year player. I don't think there's much of a chance of that.
No, I mean,
so
he does have the size and everything to get the rebounds and put it back up. But one thing I do see him need to work on is just his ball handling. It's a bit sloppy.
It's pretty sloppy. But there were several times last night where he just completely owned Cody Zeller in the paint, and
hell, he was the one who scored half of Purdue's points.
I remember it was on one of our first few possessions. He had great post position, took a pass, turned around, and jammed it.
Unfortunately, though, he got into foul trouble pretty early in the game.
Picked up, I think, 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes, and then Painter sat him for about 5 minutes. He came back in, picked up the third really fast, and it,
Well, when you're a big guy like that, it does happen, though.
But Cody Zeller's a big guy, and he doesn't get any of those calls. Oh, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it's a tendency for the bigger guys to get called more. I mean, they're bigger, they're more aggressive, get in there.
Yeah, it sucks, but it's a fact of the game, really. I guess we could look ahead a little bit. What do we have? We have Northwestern tomorrow on the road at noon. You get games on ESPN2, followed by Penn State on the road on Tuesday. Penn State's awful. So that's probably a win. They're definitely worse than us. They're the worst team in the Big Ten. But, it's not like they care about basketball at Penn State. That's a football school. So yeah, Penn State Tuesday, and then that big game against Michigan State at Mackey next Saturday. So I believe that Michigan State game is definitely prime time. It'll be ESPN Saturday night probably. So that's a big game coming up. There's a few things I wanted to address, and Tyler, I'll get your opinion. I've seen what Purdue fans have had to say about that IU game, and I haven't been sure entirely what to think about it. It seems like a lot of fans, the whole Painter can't recruit chatter has started up again, and it seems like fans want to bring that up as often as possible when they feel like there's an opportunity to. I disagree. I really do. I think that for a while he did, because after recruiting the big three, or big four, when he got Robbie Hummel, Jawan Johnson, Etwan Moore, and Scott Martin, who transferred to Notre Dame.
Right.
But when he had that four-man class, they were successful immediately. You know, a lot of that had to do with the fact that I think all of them had played in AAU together for several years, so they already had some chemistry coming into Purdue, and that's what allowed them to win at this level a lot faster. You don't quite have that with this class, right? You've got Raphael Davis and Jay Simpson are from a different part of the state. They're not from Indianapolis. Raphael's from Fort Wayne. Jay is from Illinois. He's actually from Champaign. They played together at La Lumiere in prep school right before coming to Purdue for several years. They had some chemistry, but as we know, Jay Simpson redshirted this year. Yep. We've got those guys are separate from everybody else, right? Ronnie comes from big-time North Central Indianapolis, big-time basketball program in the city. He's played against top talent, but he never played against A.J. Hammonds, because A.J. Hammonds was at Oak Hill Academy. He was at Carmel for several years. Probably played against North Central a few times, but spent his last year at the top basketball academy in the nation. So, you know, that's part of the reason why A.J. is so much further ahead than the other freshmen, because he's played at a much higher level. It's much higher competition for so long. So that's a factor. So with this group, it seems to me like it's going to take them longer to build the chemistry.
I would have to agree with you on that.
You know, I think that's why I think they'll be better next year. You know, they'll have had the off season to work together and improve their shots and their games. So I think we'll see a much better team next year. And on the recruiting front, really love that class we got coming in. I talked about it on Twitter earlier, but think about it. What's the main problem with this team? What positions are we struggling at the most?
Well, one, our field goal shooters are.
So you mean shooting guards?
Yeah, just shooting guards.
Shooting guards, yeah. Point guard play. We're not very deep at point guard. First of all, we've got Ronnie, and then we have Anthony Johnson backing him up, and Anthony's not any good. So, you know, I suppose no disrespect to the guy. You know, I don't know him personally, but as a player, from what I've watched, I don't think he's very good at all. So, you know, maybe he'll prove me wrong. He's only a sophomore. Maybe he'll get better. But
it's just,
I haven't.
Going from your point that like the fans complaining and all, being frustrated, it's understandable. I mean, yeah, they're frustrated. You expect your team to do well, but it's a down year.
It's a down year, and
it happens.
It happens, exactly. We had those great years with the big three. You know, it sucks that it fell apart with Hummel tearing his ACL twice, but that was a great group, and we still had a pretty great season with Jawan and Etwan their senior year, because Jawan was a first-team All-American level player. So
I also think it just stems from how the football team was performing, and so they were just, well, having basketball would be good, something to watch, and then, well, this year they're not so good.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of frustration.
That's true. That's true. From a student perspective, from the perspective of a student, you just got built up frustration. You know, you want to see a Purdue team do well. Volleyball was pretty good this year, but although I'm going to say volleyball, in my opinion, is not a sport people should brag about, because it's not a major revenue sport. You know, if you tell half the Big Ten, oh, we beat you in volleyball, what are they going to say? You know, they're going to be like, so? You know what I mean? There's a few times, like Illinois and Nebraska, I know those are good volleyball programs, but, I mean, what are you going to do?
I have to say, most, if anybody watches, just football and basketball.
Football and men's basketball are the two big-time revenue sports that people watch. That's the thing. Those are the ones that get all the national TV coverage.
Yeah, because if you talk anything else but that, and people are like, okay, I don't care.
It's because that's where all the tradition is too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like programs that are, you know, IU is basketball central really. Their fans are crazed. At Purdue, we've got a lot of football tradition. It might not, just because you might not have the championships, that doesn't mean you have no tradition. You know, I don't understand that at all. I know some people want to say that, but we've had so many great quarterbacks come through Purdue. This is one of the top quarterback schools in the entire country, and it's I think Darrell Hazel can lead us back to those days. So, but anyway, that's beside the point. What we were talking about.
Yeah, let's get back on topic here.
Kind of got off on a tangent, but when I say the three names, I say Bryson Scott, Kendall Stevens, Basil Smotherman. What do you think?
Improvement.
How about that? You know, everything I hear about Bryson Scott, I hear he's a bulldog. You know, I hear he's a very dangerous defender. He's guarded. People say he's guarded some of the top talent in the state and just shut players down. So it's good news. He's a 4-star guard. He scores a lot. And everything I've seen from him says this guy's got a great passion for the game and can bring things to Purdue immediately. He's a combo guard, but I think he'll probably be playing a lot of point here. Maybe he'll play some shooting guard after in his sophomore year when Tyrone Johnson's gone. I think you'll start seeing him play more.
I do like the whole fact that I'm being bulldog when it comes to the defense, because that can also force out a lot of turnovers.
Not to mention, it really helps that, you know, if we can get another Kramer-like presence.
Mm-hmm.
Not to compare anybody to Chris Kramer, because Kramer was the most amazing defender I've ever seen. But you know, Kramer was the definition of locking people up. Really,
yeah.
I'm not even kidding. You put him on any team's best player, they're out of the game. You know, I remember we played Davidson a few years ago, and they had Stephen Curry, who's a great pro. You know.
Yeah.
Kramer held him scoreless. Purdue jumped out to a 21-0 lead in that game. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But I was actually at that game at Conseco Fieldhouse, not Bankers Life.
People are still going to refer to as Conseco Fieldhouse.
Of course,
be a while.
Of course, yeah, that takes time to grow. Let's see, Kendall Stevens. You know, he's supposed to be one of the top shooters in the entire class. Comes from Illinois. He's rated as a 4-star. He's nationally they put him in the top 60. So that's really pretty good. 4-star guard. We can use that help. Basil Smotherman, in my opinion, is as underrated as it gets. He's like barely in the top 150 right now, but he's had kind of a strange situation because I heard a lot of stuff about how at Lawrence North in the past few years he had a coach that didn't give him the minutes he needed, you know, stuff like that it kept him from really being productive. He had a pretty productive AAU session last summer, and he's really come on this year. I've seen things about like 30 plus, 10 plus rebound performances several times. Really impressive. He is a small forward, really versatile. He's 6'7". That's a position we really need help at. So, you know, that's what I've been saying. These three guys, if they're productive immediately, number one, we're going to be a lot deeper next year. We're going to be a much deeper team. And those guys fill gaps that this year's team has problems with. So,
yeah.
You know, if Stevens is as good of a shooter as people say, then he'll spread the floor out, really open up the offense. So, you know, think about it. If you've got A.J. Hammonds in there and then you've got a great shooter on the outside, it's really hard for defenses.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they have to pick their poison, you know. Do you double team Hammonds? Do you double team the great shooter? So.
And if you double team, that leaves somebody open.
Yeah, that's why it'll help that we're deeper. You know, it's good to have a player that drives a lot like Tyrone, but you need outside shooters as well. You know, it's just another option.
I agree.
In my opinion. It's really not much football to talk about. You know, it's the middle of the off season. We'll talk about the Blitz. We'll talk about football closer to spring football in April. Probably say some stuff then. You know, I'm going to be really interested in the spring game this year because we get a first look at some of these quarterbacks.
And a new coach.
And a new coach. That's right. You know, that's going to be the big attraction. Everybody's going to want to go out and see Darrell Hazell. So there's that. Basketball, you know, we'll see where this goes. I talked to you about this a few minutes ago. Upcoming schedule. At the very least, if this team wants any hope of the NCAAs, they got to get to 18 wins. 18 wins is the bare minimum. Probably still doesn't get them in, but it gets them on the bubble at least. And they would need 7 more wins. You've still got on the road against Iowa. You've got Northwestern twice.
Yep.
You got Penn State, I think twice, maybe only once.
I think it was once.
I think it's once. I think it's just at Penn State on Tuesday. But so what's that? That's like 5 more games.
Mm-hmm.
It's 5 more games. We're at 11 wins now. That gets us to 16. And then you got to steal a few. You got Michigan State at home next weekend. You've got Minnesota at home. That's the last regular season game of the year. You've got I'm not even going to talk about at IU because that's probably not going to go well.
Yeah, probably
not for this team. Let's see. What else? Michigan State is a big opportunity next Saturday for this team. They're a little short-handed because I heard Brandon Dawson got hurt again. I could look that up. Hang on. I'm actually going to take a minute to look something up, fans. Hold on 1 second. That's not what you want. Brandon Dawson injury. All right. It says here. Let's go to news.
Yeah, that'll probably help.
Stop it. Brandon Dawson.
Like you typing Brandon Dawson, no bomb.
Okay. Turns out he has been playing. Well, I guess the injury he had was kind of a minor thing. It wasn't as bad as I thought. So that's going to be a big game. That'll, the way I see it, if Purdue can win both of these road games, maybe get a little momentum going, 2 straight wins, I'll be interested in that Michigan State game because that'll be a big chance for them to steal one and potentially get their season back on track.
A Michigan State game, though, that's going to be tough.
It's winnable. I think it's winnable.
It's winnable, but I don't think it's going to be easy. Because
we played them, when we played in East Lansing, we played them really close for like 3/4 of the game, and then it got out of hand, and that happens on the road with the young team. But,
right.
Maybe at Mackey it'll change. I don't know.
Maybe.
I just got to hope the crowd brings it.
Crazier things could happen.
That's our next home game, though. It's a camp-out game, too, for the Paint Crew. So if you're in the Paint Crew, I am, but I don't do camp-outs. I just show up on game day with friends. So.
About to say, for weather we're having here, you really want to be camping outside?
Probably not. Probably not. So, Purdue fans, I appreciate you checking this out. I know it's been rough the last few days. If you've been getting any trash from IU fans, just remind them where the bucket is.
Football's no sport.
No, football's no sport. Well, it counts when you rare chances you beat us. So. Yeah. If there's any IU fans that tune into this, you know what? Don't really care what you think. We're in a down year. We'll be back next year. Darrell Hazell's going to bring our football program back, so we'll see who's laughing sooner rather than later. I guess that's all we got for today. Glad to have friend here, Tyler Briggs, back on for a second BlitzCast.
Thanks for having me.
I try to get different co-hosts in the future as well. I'm actually going to talk to Nick Conkle about doing one of my co-writers. But anyway, I just hate hosting these alone. So it's better to find someone. I can't just talk for 15 minutes. It doesn't really work all that well.
All you're doing is talking to a camera.
Yeah, it just seems kind of odd to me. It's better to have conversations when you're doing this. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Boiler up, hammer down, hail Purdue.